everybody. Welcome in to this very special episode of the Altar Live Show. I'm Andy, and Maeve will be with us in just a few minutes. But hey, we wanted to bring you kind of a special episode of the Altar Live Show. We're only a couple episodes into this, but we really wanted to bring you something that could be encouraging to you, but also could give you a few ideas as to how to use Altar Live. And so we actually interviewed a couple of weeks back a very funny individual, Akintunde, who is a Christian comedian, but who's also doing some amazing things out in the community. And so we wanted to bring you this whole conversation. It's a little bit longer of an episode than you'll get with a typical Altar Live show, and that's okay. There is a whole lot here, from parenting and funny, just laughing at ourselves and laughing at the world around us, to use tips like in platform use tips with Altar Live, and a whole lot more. If you are interested in some of Akintunde's work, he's actually doing live spots all this weekend. If you're watching this live, he's doing live things this weekend. You can check out all of his information in the description below. You can also check out our social medias at altar_live for more information on him. But here is our full conversation with Akintunde.
The name I use is just my one name, my first name, Akintunde.
Okay.
Which is long enough.
Okay, fair enough.
And we're based in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay, cool. First of all, Akintunde is a dope name. I love that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. So interview has obviously started, but we're just going to, like I said, kind of have a conversation. So I know Maeve and I both wanted to talk to you first and foremost. How did you become a comedian who is a Christian who works, what's the confluence of events? How did that all happen?
So I started doing comedy in 1993, and I pretty much was a traveling comic, doing mostly comedy clubs, cruise ships, colleges, and nightclubs. One-nighters, we know what we call them. And in 1998, I got saved the first time. I always say,
I know where this story's headed.
It took a couple times over that first year to really get this thing worked out, and it's still a work in progress. But no, I got saved the first time, and I was in this weird place where I was going to church, I accepted Christ, and but I just didn't have my career was in conflict with what I was being taught in church and about the word, and about how you shouldn't, blessings and curses can't come from the same mouth, and you using your gift for the good of God and the kingdom of God and his people. That was a total conflict. So it got to the point where I literally said, okay, I can't do this like this. I called my wife after a weird series of incidents, which is too long for me to tell you probably on this podcast. But after that, I then decided I'm shutting it down. I came off the road, and that took about a year, almost 2-year process of me figuring out how to do this as a Christian comedian, not as a club, vulgar, secular comedian. Mm-hmm. And it took about that. And once we moved from Savannah, Georgia to Columbia, South Carolina, and once we moved here, I got into a church that gave me a little bit more detail and insight in terms of the teaching. And then that's when I figured out, okay, this is how I merged these two. Because the first church that I was a member of, they were really good at just letting me know that this was even possible.
Okay.
This to me, it was totally foreign. So for me, but it was once we got to Columbia that we learned, okay, yeah, you can actually do this.
Okay, so let's kind of go back to wife and kids. You got a family, obviously. What's your family makeup? Wife, couple of kids?
Wife, 5 kids.
Whoa, not even a couple. Like, that's more than a couple. That's a family.
We got a family. So.
How old's your oldest?
My oldest is 28.
Okay.
Then I have a 26-year-old, and then I have a 24-year-old. I have a 21-year-old, and I have a 19-year-old who just is about to just turned 19 on Saturday. My 28-year-old will turn 27-year-old actually. He turns 28 next week.
Oh goodness, how you doing with all those older kids? You all right with that?
You know, it's an interesting process because parenting adult children, it's a major difference. Of course, everybody knows it's different, but it's hard to put into full words and context just how different it is parenting adult children. Because at the end of the day, they don't have to do what you tell them.
Right.
Those days are out the door. So you're not parenting by do what I say. You're parenting by influence. And you may or may not be influencing them to take your lead or take your opinion, which you don't want to. It's not like you coming in and saying, "Hey, do what I tell you to do." But it is like, but kind of listen to what I'm saying, my perspective on this whole thing. So it's interesting. You have some kids who was like, you know what, Dad, I received that. Let's rock out. then you have some other ones like, nah, I'm not doing that, and I'm telling you, I'm not going to do that. And here's why. So it's an interesting space to be in as a parent.
I like that. I remember growing up, I never liked my parents. I loved them, but I didn't like them. And and then I moved out of the house and I did a whole bunch of bad stuff in college and a whole, drug thing and all that before I got saved. Okay. And I remember coming back to my parents when I got a little older and I said, A, sorry, number one. Number two, like, y'all are my friends now. And so to this day, my mom unfortunately passed from breast cancer, God rest her soul. But my dad, he's like one of my best friends in the world. So I'm just praying that over you and your kids that y'all could be best friends.
I received that. And first of all, I appreciate you sharing the testimony of your mom and the loss, as well as the journey with your parents, because that really is blessing me right now. Good. Because it is tough. I mean, again, children are children. So you have some children who are doing things this way. You have some children doing things that way. But it's great to hear that through your journey, you reached a point where you figured out, you say, you know what, my parents had my best interests at heart. They loved me, and now I can go back and then kind of pick up. And I reckon, and you know what? My testimony is similar in that I gave my mother pure D Hades, okay, for about 2 years, okay, and then literally, for me, what it was, I didn't get saved. I didn't get saved until I was almost 30. But for me, what did it was, I had a friend of mine go to jail for an extended period of time. He got a federal prison sentence. I don't know if you know anything about federal prison sentence, but if they tell you 5, they mean 365 times 5. Yep. So the way he went to jail and how much time he got like 20 years. And I never forget, I called my mom and I said, you know what? Now I see why you were so protective, why you didn't let me do certain things. And I just want to tell you, I appreciate that. So whatever I always say, whatever your wake up call is, or that process is, as long as you get it.
Amen. Well, absolutely. Obviously, we didn't bring you on here to talk about parenting and all that stuff. Although, I mean, honestly, I could go. I got 3 of my own kids. Like, I could go for a while on that. Okay. But
what's the ages?
So 17-year-old boy, 15-year-old girl, which she's a lot of fun, and then an 11-year-old boy. And I'll tell you what, that 15-year-old girl, she's my princess. 7 years ago today, I was taking her to a daddy-daughter dance when she was in like 4th grade or 3rd grade or whatever. And now she's a 15-year-old. She's got boys following her. She's a beautiful young woman. And I'm getting ready to buy a shotgun so I can leave it on the coffee table. I got my other guns and like they're hidden and they know about them, but I'm ready to just have that gun on the coffee table so that when those boys start FaceTiming her, they can see that gun,
Hey, let me tell you something. To this day, I have both of my daughters still live at home with me. I love them. And when they're FaceTiming certain people, I pop right in. I'm like, hey, how you doing?
Yep. And you just start like getting a little bit bigger. Like, all right, I'm just gonna make sure they know that I'm big and I can take them. Yep, absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. Take them out to the woodshed.
I feel like my father needs to take notes because he always tries to make friends with the boy.
Don't do that.
No. No
friends is later. Friends is like, a year into the relationship. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay, I know we didn't talk about this, but here's the thing. My daughter, one of my daughters has a guy who I really like. It took me a year before I kind of let the walls down. And my wife was like, she'd be like, you should go down there and talk to him. I said, no, he doesn't deserve that yet. Let him prove himself.
Yep.
And
That's good.
And now I go down, and I think he was shocked a couple months ago. He came in, he sat down at the counter. I happened to be cooking, and I turned around and I handed him the plate.
And he's going like, wait a minute. He's like touching the ground, going, "Did hell freeze over? Like, what's going on here? Is everything okay?" Yes, I know.
Exactly.
All right. Dang.
So yeah,
we could go on this. All right, let's go. I want to move to kind of the pandemic, and I want to move to kind of the beginning of 2020. Were you on the road? Like, what was your January, February up to the beginning of March? What were you doing up till that point?
Yeah, 2020 was coming into a stellar year. I had like 2 big tours that I had booked. I was doing the TD Jakes Presents.
Ooh.
He had put together a comedy tour.
Yeah.
And it was being promoted through Live Nation. Tickets on sale. They came in and they said, these are the prospective dates. This is the first 2 dates. We want to get these locked in, and we're building out the rest of the tour. So it was that. I had like 2 other big tours, and I had a Healthy Laughter comedy tour. So it was gearing up to be a great year. And then literally in about 3 days, the whole calendar fell out. And so I had about literally, just being fully transparent, I had a 15-minute pity party right here in the office, where I was like, okay, God, like, really, what are we doing? And how is this happening? And da da da. And then I got over. I'm like, hey, okay, get over it, dude. And then literally, God shifted me to within a few days, a guy who I'd met at an event at a church. He calls me up and he says, hey, he said, would you like to do a virtual comedy show? And I was like, virtual comedy show? That's gotta suck. And so he was like, no, it'd be good. And he said, I want to call it Inside Jokes. Hodge Fleming. Shout out to Hodge. And I was like, I like the name.
Yeah. I
said, and I didn't even talk to my wife about it. We literally I was having a conversation with her in my eyesight, and we both were like, yeah, do it. And we did it. Sold 250 tickets. I was like, wait a minute. I said, that's interesting. So it was, for me, that was like a eye opener to what the possibilities of virtual could be.
Yeah. So how many of those did you do?
I did quite a few of those, and then we did 2 under the Inside Jokes banner, and then people started bringing me in to do what essentially were Zoom events. So I've done, I don't know how many of those I've done. Those were a great replacement, to the normal schedule. But yeah, it turned out to be an eye-opening process of utilizing and delivering comedy, the ministry of comedy, in a different way.
So you talk about the ministry portion of it. Is there, at any point during these virtual comedy shows, do you get a chance to talk with your audience at that point, or is it you're just kind of doing your routine and then, all right, guys, I gotta go, peace out, and then you dip out?
No, we always include testimonies.
Cool.
It's comedy, but it is totally carrying the message of Christ through the comedy. I'm sharing my testimony. I'm sharing things my wife and I have overcome, even stories with my kids, even the stuff that's some of the, maybe the tougher stuff. You still share it in a funny way, and then share how God, brought you through it. So it depends on who brings me in. Sometimes people come in and say, hey, we really want you to share your testimony. Feel free to share as much as you would like to about your testimony. And then sometimes they're like, hey, we just kind of want to keep it straightforward, funny, include your message in your comedy, but you don't have to be overly heavy with it. So sometimes it kind of depends on the house, the tone of the event, and what they want. Okay.
So enter Altar Live. Talk us through the kind of finding the platform and the genesis of all of that. Where did it come from for you?
So Altar Live came at the perfect time, because we had been looking at several different platforms. As you all know, there's over the past year, there are several platforms that have come and popped up that are event platforms, or live event platforms. They all have different elements that make it work or not work. They have different pricing and whatever. So for me, Altar was like, oh, this is cool. The price is cool, and it actually works. I'd been on several Zoom calls with people, and then I had several tests, and I'm like, well, this isn't much different than Zoom. So what's the value? And then I remember this one company, I got on with them, and they pitched me everything, and I was like, that's great. And so I said, how do you guys do your pricing? It was like, well, we do one event pricing, and those usually start at about 12 grand. And you ever check out in the middle of a conversation? Like you ever have somebody talking to you, and mentally your mind says, time to go. I'm like, yeah. No. Let me finish. Listen, my mind's like, leave now. Leave. Get out of this meeting. Like, no, I'm not gonna be rude. Leave now. I just said, hey, yeah, that's out of our budget. And she was like, so just kind of give us a range. Maybe we can meet you somewhere. I'm like, no, it's no meeting in the middle because we're there. No, it's not happening. So Alter was a great confluence of the technology, the pricing, and for us, it worked well with Ecamm, which as you guys know, I was like, Ecamm revolutionized the way we do things around here. So it was just a wonderful. When I found Alter, I was like, okay, we can actually do a virtual comedy venue, and it not just be you watching me at home, which is cool. Someone watching me at home and not interacting with me. No, with Alter, we can totally interact on a whole other level.
Yeah, absolutely. How many events have you done on Alter so far?
We've only done one event on Alter. We had our first event on Alter 2 weeks ago.
Okay, how'd it go?
And it went great. It was eye-opening. What I loved about also too, I'll go back to the event. What I loved about after the event, I had a great post-event wrap up with Stephanie and our team, and we kind of talked about what worked and what didn't work. And I love the fact that they actually said, okay, let's tweak this, because what we do is different, slightly different. It's a ministry of comedy. It is a entertainment media ministry. So it's not necessarily the traditional church or small group meeting. So I love the fact that she was willing to accommodate us into some of the small things that we kind of needed to be, worked on and tweaked for what we do.
Absolutely. Maeve, if you want to go ahead with a couple questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your writing process, pertaining for a virtual show. Like, how did your process have to shift when preparing for a virtual show? And I know audience for any live event is so crucial. So how did you maintain that sense of engagement?
Great question, Maeve. So initially for me, it was extremely hard and challenging when the pandemic first started, because you used to being in front of 200, 2,000, 3,000 people. So it was extremely challenging trying to figure out how to keep the audience. How do I know I'm doing well? Right. And so am I connecting with the audience? So a lot of times I would just do the events or the shows almost blind. I just tell myself, well, you're having a great set. In your head, you have to just assume that you're having a great set. And people will call back and say, we really enjoyed that, whether it was a ministry or a corporation or a nonprofit. They're like, that was really good. I said, okay, praise God, because I just am totally operating by faith. So, but what happened was, coming to the end of last year, Maeve, I learned that during the show, by simply engaging with the audience, it caused you to connect with them in a much more tangible, real way by just calling people's names out. So saying their name or and it's easy to do that with Zoom because you can just swipe and just look at folks or whatever. So Alter allows us to have a list of people. We know who's there. Maybe we have some information about them, and it allows us to connect with them. So the writing is, you're writing the jokes, but you also have to write in, connect with your audience, engage with them, and in a tangible way. So it really, for me, it's not just writing the joke with virtual, it's engaging the audience along with the jokes.
That's awesome. Can you give an example of how you would do that? So you knew the people in advance, and would you know things about them and then write a joke that was about them or they think was funny?
Basically, she's asking, did you stalk them beforehand?
Yeah, that was a good setup.
Doing a little pre-event trolling.
Exactly. Yeah. It's called research. Okay.
Right. No, what I figured out was, and I figured out with this. Shout out to this sister. Her name was Jackie, and she's like the VP of a radio conglomerate. And she asked me to come in and do her event. And I kind of did it as a favor. But that event, that favor, because it was so loose, it allowed me to learn how to literally go through the audience and directly bother people almost. So, what I found out was, I'm like, look, this guy's doing his taxes in the middle of my show, and then everybody's laughing, and then he's like, oh, and then now he's engaged, he's laughing. I'm like, what's Mr. Thomas? I'm like, where are you? You in a Starbucks? Is that your house? So it was just real organic, fun, non-threatening, but engaging way to bring the audience right into your event and make them feel like, okay, this guy's just not spitting jokes at me. He's really trying to engage me.
Oh,
that's so great. And that's so true because, I'm just like thinking about the many video conferences I've been on over this past 18 months. And there've been so many times where just something hilarious happens. Like my sister had a dance competition. And so we were watching it on the phone and we were looking. Some people wouldn't mute, and it's a dance competition. It was just awful. But then there was this elderly gentleman close to the screen with a magnifying glass trying to locate his granddaughter on stage. And so you just see this eye of an elderly gentleman with a magnifying glass.
I'm sorry. I'm very visual.
That's
so
good.
I can see him with the magnifying glass.
It was one of the best moments of my life.
Oh, that's so. Mr. Osgood, could you put the magnifying glass down, Mr. Osgood, please? Thank you.
You set your computer on fire. Put that out.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. In terms of kind of the online and the engagement and all that. So obviously you're calling through. How does it feel for you adapting everything? Are you getting that live feel about everything? Do you feel that kind of that pulse right before you log on, like you do when you're stepping in front of people?
I have to say that I have, I'm doing comedy for 27 years, and I have, friends who are Christian comedians and secular comedians, and the overwhelming consensus has been, I hate Zoom shows, I hate digital shows, I can't wait till we get back on the road. But me, I embraced it, and the same what we did a few years ago. We embraced the concept of creating content way before there was Facebook, way before there was YouTube, back in 2006 on a platform called Streaming Faith.
Oh, I know it.
And we literally had a comedy show called It's Time to Laugh for almost about a year on Streaming Faith. And I never forget that I got a call from Streaming Faith one day, and they said, the young lady she said, I want you guys to know that you guys' page is the #1 page after the homepage. Okay. I was like, really? So I was like, okay. And so we were so far ahead. And I don't say it in an arrogant way. I mean, almost like in a market way. Yeah. We were so far ahead of the market. We didn't understand what engagement was. We don't understand how to monetize it. So so I stopped doing it. So this time when I got to answer your question, when I got to the virtual world, I said, you know what? I'm gonna figure this out. So whatever I have to do, I'll have to do that. So one thing we figured out is sometimes I'm here on our stage going to our camera, and either we've got a live comedy show or a pre-recorded comedy show that we toss to. Then there'll be times when I'm at a ministry and I'm doing my full set, but we're tapped in an altar, and however many people, maybe it's members or maybe it's people who within our network, they're watching the show too. They're in the altar event room in the seatings, enjoying the event virtually. So with that, it's still, you get the mix of the blending of the live comedy audience and the virtual comedy audience. And that's the value in the potential of what the internet, what Altar Live, what Ecamm, and what live comedy gives us.
That's gold right there. How, first of all, how long is the set that you would normally do in a virtual event? Are you finding attention spans shorter, longer? How's it been going for you?
That's a good question. And you know what? I don't have a general hard time set. I think it's probably based on the event. One thing we learned, and we did this with our first event on Altar, we played a game with the audience. So literally, I said, who would like to play this game we have called Useless Information? I said, who wants to play Useless Information? And it's the game show where you can use all that useless knowledge in your head and actually win this game. So they were like, yeah, I want to play. And I said, okay, just send us an email. And they sent us an email and we sent them back the link to Ecamm. And they popped in and actually played a trivia game live. It was amazing how much engagement that got, because in my mind, the comedy is going to get the most chats, the most likes or thumbs up. It was that part where people were all in, that's wrong, or I know that answer. And I was like, okay. So I'm learning that along with the live comedy where they're just watching and enjoying, also, again, that engagement and bringing them in to the event just like sparks the event in a whole different way.
In that vein, then, so Altar Live obviously has a lot of church people, pastors, church leaders, digital guys like myself that are looking at Altar Live and kind of pondering it and stuff. And so in that vein, they're saying, I don't know how this platform's great and all these, I love all the tools. I love everything. I don't know how I would get my people to actually engage with me. What are some tips or tricks outside of the games that you have found? Anything else that we can kind of pull from you?
You know what? I'll say this. I think the first thing is probably the attitude towards it. And I think that if we have an open attitude to this new technology and these new platforms that was created with Christians in mind, and then we recognize the time. This is the greatest time, I believe, for the church ever in the history of mankind.
Let's go.
Here's why I say that. It's because you can literally take the gospel to all the world with a click. And so then how many people can we reach? It's about borderless sanctuaries. It's literally about having a sanctuary with an unlimited amount of seats. It's based on how many people you can reach, how many people you can engage, and just I know we don't like to say this in church, and how you market by using content. So I think that we have to master this because, and I don't want to get too deep on this, but the world masters entertainment and media to draw us towards darkness. I believe we have to utilize the media to draw people towards light. And I think that this gives us an amazing opportunity to genuinely engage with people. This is a small group on steroids. What an amazing potential for us to be able to sit and talk with someone in a real, tangible, non-threatening, and loving way. And then you can let's go over here and pray and talk. I mean, how amazing is that? So, and I don't want the church to do. I don't want us to do what Paramount, Warner Brothers, and 20th Century Fox did. They all ignored Netflix. It was like streaming. Nobody's ever going to do that. People are never going to pay $15-20 a month for a streaming platform. It's just not going to happen. That's what they said. And by the time they caught up, Netflix was nearly at 200 million subscribers.
Yep.
The closest platform to Netflix is Disney Plus, and they're at about 30 million. The church can't afford to do the same thing.
Yep.
We can't be 3 to 5 years from now. You know what? Maybe we should try to look at Altar Live. No, we got to look at Altar Live now because there's fires, there's earthquakes, there's pandemics, and people need Jesus.
Amen.
Wow.
I mean,
I'm in awe.
Yeah, that's a mic drop for me right there.
I should just leave.
I'm really passionate about it because I sometimes have these conversations with sometimes major ministries. And they're saying, yeah, we didn't really have a live, and nothing against. I'm not in any way disparaging anyone or in any way being arrogant or anything like that. I'm like, okay, But Facebook Live has been here for quite some time. And we just haven't been utilized, or streaming faith, or whatever these platforms are. So I just feel like we have to look at what's going on and make sure that we're utilizing these amazing platforms and these amazing opportunities, particularly at the price point, to take Jesus to all the world.
Amen.
Wow.
Maeve, I literally don't have anything else.
I know.
that was all of my questions there, and then
amazing.
we went on a better conversation there. Anything else from your side, Maeve?
I'm wondering if we could maybe circle back to when you were talking about how in the beginning you had to kind of drop everything and start fresh with, writing your comedy and being a Christian in the entertainment industry. There's always such a moral dilemma with that. How do you set those boundaries? How do you maintain those boundaries for yourself and not, make excuses of like, oh, this is for the art, or, I can slide by one time.
Right. No, for me, I'm kind of an all or nothing type of person. So
amazing.
So which is good and bad. So because I can eat chicken, or when I can eat the same meat or combination of food for like 2 weeks. So my kids like, please, I'm tired of turkey burgers.
Preach.
So
come on. Hallelujah.
So, but I think for me, when I got saved and I really got settled about my walk with Christ, then I realized the Akintunde, the comedian, couldn't be in the driver's seat. Akintunde, the believer, had to step into the driver's seat, and then I got to put Akintunde, the comedian, in the back seat, because family, my wife and my children, are in the passenger seat, and that was hard and challenging. I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you it was easy, but what happened was, through faith and through obedience, I had to fire my managers and agents that I had that kept me working in comedy clubs, and then and then I had to hire my wife, and she then graciously took it on and literally started working with me, and then it became a partnership. So we literally had to figure out how to merge the two. And you have to think too that a lot of people within the church didn't see it as a valid ministry. Some people still don't. So, but what happened is once I got solidified, we don't say certain things, we don't do certain things. There's TV shows that I'm simply not going to do, period, in the discussion. I don't do events that have alcohol or cigarettes as sponsors. I never forget, I booked this event one time, and then they said, oh yeah, and then I got on the phone with somebody and they said, yeah, it's presented by Alizé. I was like, what? I said, who's Alizé? As a person? They were like, no, the liquor company. I'm like, Alizé? I was like, oh no. I was like, no, I can't do that. And they were like, I'm talking to the radio station with the promoter. He's like, what do you mean? I said, yeah, I can't do that. I said, I can't be on an event with Alizé. And he was like, man, hey, man, I know you got your faith in Jesus, but hey, man, it's business. I'm like, yeah, for me, it doesn't work that way. So, and maybe I have, I don't know if I paid a price for it. I know I've always continued to work behind the scenes in second. So I have 325 episodes as writing credits that continue on as a believer. And even on the shows that weren't Christian shows, I never compromised my standards, and I wasn't writing or being a part of anything that was contradictory to my faith. And the one time I remember I walked off the set. So my point is that I think you have to be settled that it's kingdom first, it's Christ first. And I believe God will bless you. Just a quick story. That day I walked off the set, I knew I was fired. I called my wife and I told her, I said, just let you know, I just walked off the set because the skit that we were shooting, I couldn't be a part of. I said, everybody was mad with me, particularly my co-head writer. And I said, I'm probably gonna get fired. I said, so we probably have to find some insurance. So, some health insurance. So, you, family man, you know what the value of health insurance.
Yes, sir.
So I never forgot. I got back to the set, to studio. We were shooting on location. I got back to the studio, and the executive producer happened to be walking out. I said, hey, I just want to let you know this. I'm glad I bumped into you. I said, I walked off the set because da 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 da. She said, okay, it's okay. And I was like, yeah, I know, but And she said, it's okay. I said, yeah, but I walked off and I know that I was supposed to do this. She said, it's okay. I see you Monday. And I was like,
praise God for that. That's amazing.
So, that was just like God telling me, like a gentle nudge saying, continue to keep me first.
Yeah, I got you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Awesome. Akintunde, where can we find you? Where are you located?
You can find me at Kroger's and you can find me at Walmart.
You're a big fan of that. Big fan of that gas card, huh?
Shout out them, get them points.
Hey, come on.
I'm based in Columbia, South Carolina. I tour all over, and then I'm at Comedian Akintunde on Facebook. Let's hit the mic. At Comedian Akintunde on Facebook and Instagram, and then I'm Laughs on Twitter, but I very rarely tweet for some reason, and I don't know why I don't. But definitely Facebook and Instagram at Comedian Akintunde, and you can find me at Altar Live at the Virtual Comedy Lounge.
And what you got coming up right now?
Right now, October 23rd, I am celebrating my 50th birthday with a birthday comedy bash. We'll be in Spartanburg, South Carolina, but it'll be a totally digital event, and it'll be on Altar. And then on the 15th, I am in North Carolina. I forgot where. I'm sorry. And but yeah, I'm really excited about this. I can't, and that's just so crazy. I can barely even remember my other dates right in this moment because I'm so excited about Altar and just the potential for virtual and these digital streaming platforms.
So where can we get tickets for that digital production there?
Thanks for asking.
I got you.
Go to virtualcomedylounge.com.
virtualcomedylounge.com. That's going to be in the description of all this. All of his social information is going to be there as well. We are so, I want to call you Ak because like you said it and like, man, that's a killer name. Is it okay?
That's what everybody calls me.
Okay.
Everybody calls me
Ak, thanks so much for joining us, man. We Maeve and I and pretty much everybody on our Altar Live Slack are just like in awe of what you are doing with the platform. You are literally breaking new ground, and even take the Altar Live connection out of it. Just what you're doing as a comedian in the Christian realm is, man, just keep on keeping on, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank y'all for talking with me and allow me to share. And thank you to the entire Altar Live team, our WF Media Group, and Akintunde Comedy Ministries. We really appreciate you guys because you're opening new doors and clearing new territory.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. We're going to log out right now. We will see you later.